Hi, I'm Meg and I'm the editor of the Bee website, which you can find at the address at the bottom of the screen. So today I'm going to talk about John chapter 2 verses 1 to 12, and in my Bible it's titled Jesus Changes Water into Wine. So I'm just going to read it to you and then I'll share a few thoughts. On the third day a wedding took place at Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, "They have no more wine." "Woman, why do you involve me?" Jesus replied. "My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Nearby stood 6 stone water jars, the kind used by the Jews for ceremonial washing, each holding from 80 to 120 litres. Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water." So they filled them to the brim. Then he told them, "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet." They did so, and the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine. He did not realise where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew. Then he called the bridegroom aside and said, "Everyone brings out the choice wine first and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink, but you have saved the best till now." What Jesus did here in Cana was the first of the signs through which he revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. So for those of you who know me at all, you'll know that I got married almost exactly a year ago on the 18th of December, and if you remember the 18th of December at all, you'll remember that it was a very snowy day. So although I had plenty of wine at my wedding, I certainly had my own problems. For example, because it was so snowy, lots of my guests couldn't come, which is probably why we had plenty of wine. And those guests who did come were forced to wear wellies and coats and hats and earmuffs and all sorts of things that look a little bit ridiculous in wedding photos. There was also the usher who forgot to wear black and turned up in grey, which equally stands out in my wedding photos. And then there was the florist who cancelled a few days before the wedding, which meant that my family and friends had to run around finding flowers and arranging table decorations and bouquets for the wedding. But we had plenty of wine. So back to the story in Cana with Jesus. And the first thing I'd like to point out is that this was Jesus' first miracle, so that makes that pretty special, I think. And the fact that he chose to do this miracle just as kind of a kindness of his heart for someone in a very simple situation. It wasn't anything complicated, it wasn't a healing, it was just a very simple need that Jesus could meet. I think it's important that we realise that Jesus was at the wedding, he was invited, he was a guest, he was there to celebrate with these people, to enjoy their marriage. And that's exactly true today. Jesus isn't just there when we have the times where we feel really sad and the really bad times. Jesus is there all the time, and he celebrates with us too. And I often struggle to remember that. When things are going really bad, I always ask God for help, and when things are going good, I forget to celebrate with him because he is the God of the good stuff. The other thing that's important to realise with the fact that Jesus is there, that although he was there, he wasn't just going to turn water into wine with no introduction. He needed someone to ask him, and that's what his mother did. She realised that Jesus could do something because he was God and he was in this situation, and she knew that he could sort it out. But he needed her to ask him, and that's the same with us today. Jesus is always with us, he's always willing to help us, but we just need to ask. He's not going to, magically do things without us even saying we want them. And I know he knows the desires of our hearts and he knows what's in our mind, but he also wants us to ask. He wants us to talk to him, he wants us to discuss these things that we want, these things that we need. So I finally just want to mention the wine, and to me the wine signifies the earthly good stuff. The stuff that we get from earth that's really enjoyable. Wine is nice, and there are good stuff on earth, but like the wine at the wedding, these things run out. Earthly stuff just can't sustain us. And even in a marriage ceremony, one of the things that me and Mark vowed to each other in our ceremony was until death do us part. So even marriage is going to end because it's an earthly thing, and that's just what happens. So these good stuff, it just doesn't last, but God's stuff always lasts. So Jesus makes this wine, and not only is it better wine than any other wine that was shown before, it's eternal, everlasting wine, and that's the same with our life today. Jesus offers us better life, and eternal and everlasting life.